But on immigration, you better get your act together, or you're not going to have Europe anymore. You got to get your act together. And we, as you know, last month we had nobody entering our country. Nobody. Shut it down. And we took out a lot of bad people that got there with Biden. But you're allowing it to happen to your countries. And you got to stop this horrible invasion that's happening to Europe.
Don't you think it's strange that the migration crisis is happening everywhere, all at once, in every Western nation? Trump's not wrong. I saw it myself 5 years ago walking through Paris and London, wondering why their media sounded exactly like ours. Same stories, same excuses, same chaos. That's not mismanagement. That's coordination. The globalists call it compassion. They say borders are outdated, culture should dissolve. The truth? You're breaking societies. On purpose. Need proof? For years, Biden and the Democrats told us there's nothing we can do. It's too big to stop. But then Trump stepped in. Within days, flood slowed. So they weren't helpless. They were lying. And they're not the only ones. The European Union is lying. NGOs ferry migrants across seas while governments look away. Cities are overwhelmed, systems strained, culture erased. Why? Because when everything collapses, when fear rises and identity crumbles, they step in with a solution. Top-down control, global rules, a new world order. You're not watching a humanitarian crisis. You're watching a coordinated campaign to erase sovereignty, to make borders meaningless and nations dependent. Trump sees it, you see it, and they fear you're all starting to connect the dots. This should not be about left or right. Let's be honest, it is. Because today's left, at least the part that cheers for lawless migration, refuses to acknowledge the fact that this mass migration crisis was preventable, and they won't ask the obvious questions. Not because they're bad people, but because they've been conditioned not to question. It reminds me of a quote: a smart person changes their view when facts contradict belief. An indoctrinated one can't. So what looks like compassion? It's not. It's programming. The globalists prey on their blind compassion, counting on them never to wonder why it's happening everywhere at once. But now, more of you are waking up. You see that the crisis wasn't organic. It was manufactured, tricked, not to save lives, but to collapse nations from within, and then rebuild them in their image. My friends, we are all anonymous, and now we all see the plan.
Yeah, I mean, what did he say back there? I want to go back to that right here.
A smart person changes their view when facts contradict belief.
Boom. A smart person changes their view when the facts contradict their beliefs. I mean, listen, I'm the perfect example of that. I used to be a Democrat. And I started this journey, of discovering the truth. And once the facts kept contradicting what I was believing in, I changed my view. And here we are today, right? And here we are today. And I told you guys the story time and time again. At the beginning of this journey, I wanted Democrats to prove me right so bad. So bad. I tried to be unbiased in the videos, but I'm sure y'all saw through it, right? You saw that I was a Democrat. And, I wanted them to prove me right. And time again, they let me down. They let me down at every single turn. It's like, bro, at a certain point, I can't keep believing y'all. I mean, because time and time again, you're letting me down. Time and time again, you're losing this debate. And I'm watching it right before my eyes. And so, hey, had to change my view. Had to change. Let's hop into some of the, actually, I want to play this story because it's a little bit longer, of some folks that came here illegally, of course.
Has arrested some of what they call the worst of the worst illegal migrants, including MS-13 gang members. But ICE is not just making arrests, it's also helping find unaccompanied children. NewsNation's Allie Bradley has the very latest from the border. And Allie, unaccompanied minors have really been a major point of concern across multiple administrations.
Yeah, you're exactly right here, Nicole. And we just got information from an HHS official that shows that 13,061 unaccompanied minors have actually been located under the Trump administration. And ICE, we're learning, is also arresting some of the sponsors. 442 sponsors have been arrested for involvement in suspected child abuse or other crimes are being discovered. Now, the abuse is being determined through a multifaceted investigation if they do determine that sponsor was abusing that child. Now, they're using local police, CPS, federal agencies. They're all involved, according to HHS. Now, former special agents with Homeland Security investigations have explained to us that oftentimes these kids are left behind as payment. The parent is often promised by the cartel members that they will eventually be reunited with their child in the U.S. That child, sadly, is often recycled to help single adults enter the country illegally. Now, we know that 320,000 unaccompanied minors were essentially unaccounted for under the Biden administration. The Trump administration, they campaigned on it. They've been talking about it regularly. It's a priority for them to go and find these kids, but still just a fraction, Nicole, 13,000 out of 320,000 so far.
Truly just a fraction there, Allie. What more are you learning about the mobilization of additional troops across Texas?
Yeah, so Texas National Guard, we're learning through multiple reports, is actually gearing up to assist ICE with interior enforcement operations, doing some federal work here. Now, what we know about this situation with the Texas National Guard and how they're going to be used, they're allegedly going to be kind of operating as security for two different major facilities, detention centers under ICE. Now, you have to remember this as well. A lot of the Texas National Guard have been deputized by the feds already with some sort of immigration authority. Now, soldiers are also expected to provide some kind of security for ICE officers while they're out in the field conducting some of these operations. This all comes as DHS is saying that assaults and attacks on agents and officers are actually up 830% when compared to this time last year. I mean, look at this guy. He was throwing rocks at agents and officers. This video went pretty viral. Well, he self-surrendered, turned himself in at the border yesterday, so he's now in custody. But the attacks keep coming. In Dallas, an ICE officer dragged nearly a block down the road by an illegal immigrant from Honduras. When officers were detaining that man, with a final order of removal, he apparently accelerated his van and dragged that officer in an attempt to escape, according to ICE. Now, Border Sheriff in Kinney County, Brad Coe, he has been extremely vocal about the crisis for the last 4 years. He says he stands behind this potential force multiplier. Take a listen.
Move, be on the offensive to take the defense.
Okay.
So if you know where we know we've hit this area real hard, there's nothing coming through, take some of these resources, not all of them, some of them, and move them to where we think they're needed and see what happens there. Because you've got those that are saying, well, the border's secure, we don't need Operation Lone Star anymore. Phase 1 is secure. Phase 2 is picking up everything that got away from us. Phase 3 will be gathering that and removing them. Phase 4 will be back down to the border once the interior is secure.
One of the biggest issues, Nicole, of course, is that detention space, bed space. We've heard Tom Homan talk about it at nauseum, that they need more bed space. So we've seen, of course, Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. Other states are gearing up to have some bed space as well. We know in Texas, Fort Bliss is expanding to be even larger. It currently holds 5,000, but they're expanding with additional 5,000 beds. So it's slated to be one of the biggest across the nation. Probably it's actually the biggest one so far, Nicole.
All right, Allie Bradley, live for us there in Texas.
You heard it there. Phase 1 is complete. The thing that they told us couldn't be done, couldn't happen, it's impossible. And it's kind of funny because at first they told us that it was secure. The border's secure. The border's secure. The border is secure. They all told us the border's secure. And then it was, well, we can't do it. Why can't you do it? Well, because Trump told the MAGA Republicans not to pass the bill. Huh? So you mean to tell me you couldn't have got that done on your own? I mean, Trump just did it via executive orders. Border is locked down. Nobody coming through. Just more lies. But phase 1 is complete. On to phase 2, baby. Well, we're right in the middle of phase 2. And Tom Homan, he's not playing any games. Check out this clip of Tom Homan and Stephen A. Smith.
When you look at folks on the campaign, whether it was the left or the right, you heard folks on the right as Trump was pursuing regaining the presidency, where they were talking about how the criminals have got to go. We're going to target them, and we're going to go after them. So when you say that, I get where you're coming from. The difference is that the impression was given, everything was in an effort to get the worst of the worst out of the country. And what folks on the left and folks that are just average American citizens are pointing out is that they don't see that enough of that is happening, that quote unquote innocent civilians in this country that happen to be in this country are the ones being targeted, where you're going to a school or you're going to their workplace or what have you, and you're taking them away in an effort to deport them. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, we don't do operations in schools. We don't do operations in churches. I read that all the time too. It's a fake story, but we are prioritizing public safety threats. That's why the majority of people we arrest are criminals. The majority of people we're detaining are criminals. That's just a fact. But just because we're prioritizing public safety threats doesn't mean everybody else gets a pass. Because if the message we want to send, Stephen, to the whole world, you can enter the country illegally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. You can show up in court or not show up in court and get a final order of deportation from a federal judge, don't worry about it. As long as you don't commit another crime, you're home free. That's not the message we got to send to the whole world, because if you do that, you're never going to fix the issue. People are going to realize I can get to the United States, I can cheat the system and make a false asylum claim. I'll later be ordered removed, but I never got to leave because I didn't commit another crime beyond illegal entry. There are millions of people standing in line today trying to be part of this country, the greatest country in the world, in my opinion, and they're taking their tests, they're paying their fees, they're doing their background investigation to be part of the greatest country on earth. They're sitting in the back seat while millions of people came to our border and cheated the system. When I say cheat the system because of this, what people don't talk about, they say, well, these are all asylum seekers. Okay, you can call them asylum seekers because they're seeking asylum. But if you look at the numbers, over the last decade on immigration court, 9 out of 10 asylum seekers at our border end up with an order removal because they're not really asylum seekers. They're not escaping fear and persecution from their home government because of race, religion, and political affiliation. They're coming here for a better life. And I get that. They're coming here for a job. I get that. But that's not asylum. So we can't send the message to the whole world, ignore law. Even though we're a nation of laws, you can go ahead and break the law, enter the country legally. And here's what happens when we send that message. You overwhelm the Border Patrol like what happened during the Biden administration. 70% of agents are no longer on patrol because they're taking care of this humanitarian crisis that was created by open borders and not enforcing the law. And when you overwhelm the Border Patrol, that's when the fentanyl came across to kill 250,000 Americans. That's when sex trafficking was at an historic high. That's when a record number of terrorists crossed that border. Under Trump, 45, we had a total of 14. Under Biden, over 400. So when you don't enforce the law and you don't show consequences, people feel welcome to come across. It overwhelms the Border Patrol, where they're dealing with now they're dealing with this humanitarian crisis, but their national security job is fractured because they created gaps in the system because there are areas of the border where there's not a single green uniform because they're busy changing diapers, making baby formula, and making hospital runs, whatever is required.
Facts. I agree with that 1,000%. And listen, to go back to that first clip that I showed you guys at the very beginning with Anonymous, I think people in Europe should apply to become an American citizen. If you're sick and tired of your government in Europe letting people invade your country, become an American citizen the legal way. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a little bit of dough, but it'll be worth it. You come over here, make sure you vote Republican, of course, because you definitely don't want the same thing to happen here that was happening over there. And if you don't want that, then you got to vote Republican. And if you do that, America will be great and we'll all be singing Kumbaya together, I guess. It'll be a beautiful thing. So instead of allowing, these folks to come over here and try to completely change our culture and way of living because they want to vote for Democrats the Democrat Party, my goodness. There's so much I could talk about that. Why don't we just let a bunch of folks who are sick and tired of, basically Democrats in their country destroying their country just come on over here and we'll do the opposite of what the Democrat Party was doing, but we'll do it the legal way so that the Democrat Party can't then come back and undo what we've already done. I like that idea. I think Trump and, his team, his administration should find a way to expedite the citizenship of folks who are going to come over here and vote Republican. Do the exact opposite. Do it the legal way, right? Make sure, background checks, the whole nine, going through the process and whatnot. I ain't saying just let people walk across the border, but find a way to expedite the legal process, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Play the game back, shall I say. Nah, that's honestly probably a bad idea because we know Democrats, they will do just about anything, and they'll come back and they'll do the same, try to do the same thing when they eventually. No, well, I guess not, because I don't think they're gonna win for a long time. So, hey, actually, you know what? Maybe we should roll with that idea, because I don't see Democrats winning for a very, 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 very long time. So, and by that time, the Democrats will actually be a completely different party. The way that the Republican Party is changing, right? I call this the new Republican Party. I mean, we still got some rhinos that we need to push out. The Susan Collins and the Lisa Murkowski's, obviously the Mitch McConnell's, but he's retiring, so he's going to be out of there. We got to make sure we don't replace him with a rhino. But there's some others, the John Cornyn's, what's his name? Now I'm drawing a blank. The leader in the Senate, I don't like him either. I think he's a rhino. I think he's useless. We should get rid of him as well. Get rid of all the rhinos. Anybody and everybody that's even just a little bit suspicious, we need to be voting these people out. And let's truly make this the new Republican Party. Let's make it official, all right? We're on our way, but we still got a lot of work to do. But as always, y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions on all of this. I'm going to let y'all get out of here. Y'all stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in as always. Peace and love.
No.